Normal live in Washington, D.C.
Basically, the more upset he gets, the more they know he's lying. And of course, the current example is about the hurricane that went into Alabama. All he had to say was, I made a simple mistake. That's all he had to say. Now he's got the Homeland Security had to put out a bulletin today talking about how he saw these maps early and so forth. They basically just lied. So the more he talks about, a charge actually makes it more credible. He keeps lying about it. It gets deeper and deeper, and it's continuing every day, forever. But the hurricane thing is so ridiculous. 3 days now, and it's still going on. He just can't admit he's wrong. I used to have an employee where I used to work. He was an engineer. He was a bright person, but he could never admit he was wrong. Never. We're all human. We make mistakes. It's not a problem. It took me 3 years, and one day he admitted he made a mistake. I forgot to do something, and from then on he was fine. But you just have to admit you're human. The man in the White House is not even human. I'm not sure what he is.
He has a human DNA. Well, we don't know he's human.
Right. The next sign is send Melania back. And that certainly comes from what Trump's talking about, some of our congresswomen. But we learned today, and we've learned the last couple of days, Melania lied on her application to come to our country as, what was it called?
Einstein visa.
Einstein visa, which you have to be very special, professional knowledge and so forth. She said she had a college education, a college degree. She didn't. She lied. She lied.
The university didn't exist.
Right. So the question is,
the University of Slovenia, which doesn't exist.
if she had brown skin, ICE would be going after her. But no, she lied and got into this country, said she had a college degree. Then she pushed the birther movement against Obama, President Obama. She pushed that.
And then she married a guy that thought he had
Right.
a real university.
Right. And then she went down to visit the children.
Drums, that would have been a...
She went out to visit the children in cages and wore that coat.
Maybe she had the F. I really don't care.
I really don't care. Do you? I really don't care, do you? And you're going to visit children. What a first lady. And there are some right-wing news organizations are saying Melania has the highest IQ of any first lady ever. The highest IQ of any first lady ever. She's just a liar. And as Dana Milbank said in the past, the moral rot is just spreading throughout the entire White House. And speaking about moral rot, Jim Mattis, former Secretary of Defense, he was asked on PBS this week and quite a few other news because he's pushing his new book about leadership. If you saw a president, whether it's Trump or any president, wasn't doing his job very well and there was serious problems, would you speak up? Yes. Well, is Trump doing his job? Well, I don't want to talk about it because I work for the Defense Department. I don't want to talk about politics because it would make the military, they lose respect for the commander-in-chief. Holy crap! The whole country's losing democracy, and you're worried about what's happening in the Defense Department. He won't even stand up, and he says, based on history in France, it's the duty of silence. When you report to a commander, you have the duty of silence. So I have to be quiet. But someday in the future, I'll talk. What a piece of crap he is.
What would you say if I would give you well, he's a contractual federal employee. He's not a contractor, he's appointed. What would you say if I would say he's a contractual federal employee and that comes with actual, obligation of not supposed to be against the head of the federal government?
But he's no longer an employee.
Right.
He's no longer an employee. In fact, what else he said was that, look, I quit. Isn't that enough to say what I feel? No. You need to call out what he is.
Was it a loud act?
Right.
When he got agreed?
Right. But he doesn't even have the guts to stand up. And you want me to buy your book to learn about leadership when the country's going down the tubes for this horrible treasonous president's in there, and you can't say anything bad about him other than try to sell your book? Silence? The duty of silence? My goodness gracious. And he's ruined too. Every person who touches Trump in the administration, their reputations are gone completely. And I thought he was a decent guy, but obviously he's not. He sold himself out just like everyone else does that works in this administration. Thank you.
I have something to follow that up. Snare, don't you have a duty of silence?
I think he also swore a duty to the Constitution.
Yeah.
So
There you go.
if he's
a
not
lawyer here.
if he's not following the Constitution, if the Constitution is being basically destroyed, he has a duty to the American people to tell us that.
Duty is to the defense.
Yeah, but I think he also,
that?
yeah.
That's what he said.
Well. First of all, I'd like to send a shout out to Mueller, She Wrote, which mentioned us last night as being people were complaining, or two of the people on Mueller, She Wrote, Jaleesa Johnson and Jordan Coburn, were complaining that we don't have sustained protests here like they have in Hong Kong. And it's true, we don't have large sustained protests, but AG spoke right up on Mueller Report and said, but there is the Kremlin Annex.
I think you're mistaken.
Let's go.
Have a nice evening, sir. Okay, so so anyway, I just wanted to throw a shout out to them because they've been here actually and spoke here, and they appreciate us as being a sustained protest, small though it is. And I also follow somebody on Twitter named Virginia Heffernan. She's at page 88. She's a very good journalist.
Right.
And she has a podcast called The Real Trump Cast. And she had a conversation with Scaramucci. Scaramouche, can you do the fandango? And she barely. So Virginia Heffernan said about Scaramucci, I haven't listened to the podcast yet,
I'm
but
sorry.
This is what she said. He was almost cringingly candid about how intoxicating and arousing he finds it to be near power, especially given his modest origins and difficult upbringing. The son of a crane operator, he's also sentimental about the working class. In 2016, he drew on what he believed to be the excitement of white working class men for Trump. Some of the things he said reminded me of Max Boot, that as someone whose family had been exposed to bigotry, he couldn't abide Trump's racism. Something else reminded me of David Weissman. He clearly had some trauma that made him vulnerable to a con and even a cult. In many ways, he reminded me of Michael Cohen. Like Cohen, he betrayed himself, his family, and his moral commitments because he was almost inexplicably drunk on proximity to power, Donald Trump. In January 2017, David Frum had strong words for anyone contemplating a job with Trump. In short, he wrote, "It's very probable that you will lose your moral compass in the heady world of the White House. It's also possible or even probable that that's exactly why you're being hired." Scaramucci was clearly hired for the same reason Pence, Omarosa, Kristen Nielsen, and Barr were. They were perceived as somehow desperate or starstruck or weak enough that they'd cross lines that more qualified candidates wouldn't. And they did, as did Sean Spencer, Hope Hicks, Sarah Huckabee Sanders. But two of those people who forfeited their dignity, Scaramucci and Omarosa, whom the Mooch name-checked in our interview, have come to terms with why they are vulnerable and changed course. So the last thing she says is, the American electorate is going to come to terms with how we became so desperate, starstruck, and weak that we crossed lines and put a racist demagogue in the White House. we need to study how educated people like Scaramucci fell into the Trump cult and how they got out. So, as Bob was saying, I mean, I was shocked when people actually took jobs in the administration, because when you looked at a person like Trump, you knew they were going to try and twist you into a pretzel. He's very manipulating, and he's very good at manipulating. And if you just don't want to be manipulated, you just don't take the job. Because you're going to be manipulated one way or another to keep that job, and that job is like candy. It's like, ooh, sugar goes right to the brain. So, as far as Mattis goes, not sure why he took the job, but he certainly didn't fulfill his oath to the Constitution of the United States, and he certainly sees his job as something more compartmentalized than a duty to the people of the United States, which is very sad.
He said he serves the country, he doesn't serve a politician.
He said he served the Department of Defense.
Because that's what military, it's what military does. And so he believes he's serving something bigger and more than just Trump, and that is rationale why he took the position while he was in office.
Right, that's why everybody takes the position. That's why everybody takes the position. But the important thing to remember again is that you're hired by somebody who's a narcissist who will manipulate you into doing things that are bad for the country.
You knew that ahead of time.
Yeah, right. Everybody knew that ahead of time, and they still took these jobs for these ridiculous reasons. And a lot of people, though, wouldn't take jobs, and they got people who weren't so good at their jobs. I mean, they got people like toilet salesman. Matthew Whitaker, the toilet salesman.
I mean, he was. Yes.
The toilet salesman for men who are especially big endowed. I mean, should that person be running the Department of Justice? I mean, he got people who were compromised in some way or couldn't find jobs because of what they had done or said in the past, or were weak, perceived to be weak in somebody that he could manipulate. And he did that. And even probably with regard to Mattis, he probably thought he was manipulating him and trying to do that as well. So that's one thing to remember is, when you get close to power like that, you might not be able to see straight anymore. You might not be able to keep your own moral compass. You might not be able to have integrity when it's your job in the White House or doing what's right for the Constitution of the United States of America. That's all I have.
Let me just follow up with a very graphic way to think of what Galen just said. Trump's the elephant, and the rest of his staff is the people with the shovel behind him. Just think that's what it is. He's the elephant, and they're the shovel cleaning up the mess. Every one of them behind him. And so they've given up all their morals. They don't care. They just lie, whatever it is, make up a story to cover them. But they got the shovel in the back. And there's a lot to show.
The other thing I try and talk about are the four things that are very important to American voters, which is foreign policy, gun policy, healthcare and immigration. You can remember it, FGHI, foreign policy, gun policy, healthcare and immigration. What's happening on the foreign policy front? Well, apparently China has had this project where they're trying to gain influence in parts of the world where America is just ignoring these parts of the world, like Africa. And they have what they call a Belt and Road system. And the Belt and Road system is to help countries with their infrastructure. And they see this as a means to get a foothold in places where other people aren't, and eventually make some money off of it. And they're offering help to the Bahamas. Because guess what the Bahamas needs? Infrastructure. And that would be very close to the United States, right? So, now we're in a kind of a bidding war in a way with China about who's going to go into the Bahamas and help the Bahamas rebuild all their infrastructure, because China is just, you know, foot on the gas, go, let's get in all these countries and help them with their infrastructure so that we'll have a foothold there. And of course, Trump is just making crazy tariffs that make us all spend more money, and he's really not doing anything about China's expanding into other places and influence. That's just one thing that he's doing. But the gun policy, the Congress, because of this recent last shooting in Odessa, Congress wants to shut down the exemption for gun shows, buying guns without a background check in gun shows. And guess who? Moscow Mitch is not interested in doing that. He wants people to still be able to buy guns at gun shows. He wants to take the money from the NRA, whatever money they have left, and you know, people will be able to get guns that shouldn't have guns, people with mental health problems, and more of these tragedies, mass shootings will happen. So, you know, they're literally, there's legislation piling up on Mitch McConnell's desk that was already passed by the Democratic House, and he's just, I don't know what he's doing. He's throwing it in the circular file. Age, healthcare, I don't think there's not much going on with healthcare right now, but I would remind everybody that Trump told you he was going to have a really great healthcare plan. He was going to offer a really great healthcare plan, the best, the biggest, better than Obama. And has anybody seen it? No, nobody's seen it. In fact, he's tried to do the opposite. He's tried to take care away from people, and he's done it to some effect, and he's been stopped to some effect. And the last thing is immigration, and you know, he's, as Melissa spoke earlier, he's robbing military funds to pay for this dumb wall. You know, schools, all kinds of things are going to be cut. Facilities in Europe that protect the United States against Russia and protect against Russia invading more, you know, further into Ukraine. They're already in Ukraine. The facilities there. So he's cutting money for that. So we can probably put money on the fact that Putin will probably see this as a big boon to him, and he will probably move into some other Eastern European country. So that's what I have, and I think Fluffy here wants to talk.
I just want to add to that. So in 2013, when Yanukovych, former president of Ukraine, was done defunding the military services, and a lot of things that would fall in the category of national security, when he was done defunding it, that's when Putin rolled in Crimea and then Eastern Ukraine. So the scenario is very similar, to me at least, because this is how it looks. You take the money away, you defund the most important things, and then you become vulnerable for things that actually needs to be protected. Why Trump's doing that, one can only guess. I think we're done guessing here. I think it's pretty clear. But the scale of defunding slowly and pretending that it's not happening and making sure that it's little by little, like Bob says, chipped away. That's when the danger is. He wants us to be quiet. He wants us to be, just kind of numb to it and not notice it and not speak up about it. While the most important things that protect not only what's important for national security, but also for people who carry on national security services for us, like military family, okay? Why take defunding for military family and make them financially vulnerable when they know that they have contracts, the federal government, and part of these contracts is actually certain services that we provide, such as daycare for military services, right?
or at least half of it. So this is a slow chipping away for people who will be suffering, and those are the people we rely on in order to have a quality national security, not for all of us to be protected. That's a classic case of one dictator is taking away money, and in history we've seen it so many times. It's literally at this point, it's almost boring to watch, because we know about it, we've learned about it, we've heard about it. Many countries is an example of it. And why is it happening in America and people are still not talking about this massively and not standing against it? This is a big puzzle to me. But anyway, this is something to watch, because examples of that behavior by a leader of the country been happening in many other countries, and what happens next, a lot of people unfortunately already know. Okay, so we are here just have more issues to talk about. We would like to make a little break. Are you gonna drop?